what we're gonna go over, so let me go to my hover cam real quick. All right, so hopefully you can see my screen. Let me zoom in a little bit. So what we're gonna be talking about this week's lesson is about dividing polynomials. So it's a bit of a review from Algebra 1, depending on what class you had. But in order to talk about dividing polynomials, we want to first start with dividing regular long division. So take a moment and look at this problem here and think about how we go about using long division to solve it. Okay, do you remember the first step that we would take here? Okay, so what we do here is we start with the fact that this 2805, 2,805 is being divided by 20. So what's under is what's getting divided, what's outside is what we divide by. So in this case, we're trying to find how many times can we multiply, how many times will 20 go into 2,805? Right, so we first by starting with just the digits that we have. So we have 20 here, that's 2 digits. So we can only start with the first 2 digits, which is 28. So we would say, how many times does 20 go into 28? And that's 1 if we were to divide. Then we multiply. So 1 is the number on top times 20. We're going to multiply that to get 20. Then we're going to subtract. So we have this 28 minus 20. When we subtract, we're going to get 8. And then lastly, we bring down the next digit. So in that case, it'll be 0. So we're going to bring down that 0 next to the 8 to get 80. Then we just continue to repeat that. So the order was we divided, then we multiplied, then we subtract, and then we bring down. Okay, then we just repeat that until we have no other digits that we can bring down. Right, so we left off with 80. So how many times will 20 go into 80? That's 4. So we're going to put the 4 here. Then 4 times 20 is 80. Again, bring subtract. 80 minus 80 is 0, and then bring down. So this time the 5 gets brought down. All right, now what we have a situation where we don't have a number that's larger than the number we're dividing by. So what we do is say, okay, how many times will 20 go into 5? That's 0 because 5 is a smaller number. So we have 0 times 20, anything times 0 is 0. So we're going to subtract 5. We have nothing to bring down, so we stop here and we call this 5 here the remainder. We use R for remainder. So our final answer for this will be 140 with the remainder of 5. So that's how we do long division just with numbers. We use the same idea for what the lesson is for this week, which is dividing polynomials. So similarly, we can divide polynomials as well. So I'm just going to give an example. So we have 2 cases of this. We have a case where when you divide, you're going to get a remainder, and you have the case where you divide and you don't get a remainder. So I'm going to go over an example without a remainder where you don't get a remainder first. So you're going to see some similarities with like regular division, but there are some slight differences as well. So what we're doing is we're taking x squared plus 6x minus 16, and we're dividing by x minus 2. So similarly, like we did with numbers, we start with the digits that we have, but we can only look at one digit because we're adding two unlike terms or subtracting two unlike terms. So we can only start with the x and say, okay, can this x divide x squared any? So we think of it backwards as, okay, x times what value will give us x squared? So in that case, we have x that goes on top. So that was our dividing x squared divided by just the x. Next, we take that x like we did before, and now we're going to multiply. So x times x is x squared. X times -2 is -2x. So that was our multiply part. Next, like we were doing with regular numbers, we're going to subtract. So once we subtract, we're going to have x squared minus x squared. Anything subtract from itself is just 0. Then we have 6x minus a -2x. So remember, subtracting a negative is like adding. So 6x plus 2x, that's plus 8x. All right, now we were done subtracting. Now we bring down. So we bring down the minus 16. All right, then we go back to the beginning. So let me finish this off. We subtract, and then we bring down. Okay. Let's start back at the top with dividing. So we want to know how many times can we divide x minus 2? Or how many times rather 8x minus 16 can be divided by x minus 2? Or how many times will x minus 2 go into 8x minus 16? So if we look at just the first number, if we were to multiply x times 8, we would get 8x. So 8 is the number that we would get if we were to divide. So plus 8. And then we're multiplying. So we divide it to get 8, and then we multiply. So we're going to get 8x. 8 times x is 8x. 8 times -2 is -16. And then we subtract. 8x minus 8x is 0. -16 minus -16 is also 0. 0 plus 0 is just 0. So this is a case where we have what we say no remainder or a remainder of 0. So our final answer is just x plus 2. So if we were to divide x squared plus 16 plus 6x minus 16 divided by x minus 2, we're going to get x plus 8. Any questions or concerns about this first example without a remainder? All right, we're going to go on to an example where you're going to get a remainder when you're dividing polynomials. Let's see. I'm going to go through one more example where you have remainder, and then we're going to be done for today. All right, so the next problem, we're going to have x squared minus 6x plus 25, and then we're going to divide by x minus 2. Okay, so think about it for a second. What do we start with when we're gonna divide here? Okay, so hopefully you thought, okay, we have an x here that gets that's dividing this x squared. So x squared divided by x is going to give us x. So next we multiply. All right, so we multiply this x on top by the x minus 2. X times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. So we multiply. All right, next we subtract to see what's going to remain. So x squared minus x squared is 0. Negative 6x minus negative 6x is like adding. So that'll be negative 4x. All right, and then we bring down. All right, to finish this off, we are going to divide, multiply, subtract, bring down once more, so that we either have no remainder or we have one single remainder. All right, so x will go into negative 4x how many times? So we usually use the coefficient in this case. So negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. Then we subtract. I like to use the parentheses with subtraction like this so that I don't confuse the two negatives here. So we have a negative 4x minus another negative 4x. Anytime you subtract the same, you're going to get 0. And then we have 25 minus 8. 25 minus 8 is going to give us 17. So here we have a case where we do have a remainder. So this 17 we bring up. We use an R to represent remainder. So our result here is x minus 4 with the remainder of 17. So there's a saying that gets used when we think about the order that we divide. We just say daddy, mother, sister, brother. It's kind of like a little sing-songy thing to remember. You first divide, you then multiply, then you subtract, and then you bring down. Okay. So it's similar to like the way we use please excuse my dear Aunt Sally for PEMDAS or things like that. So when you go into the PowerPoint on Google Classroom, I go through another example of long division, and then I give you a couple practice problems that you're going to work out on your own paper and email to me. Well, take a picture of and email to me once you're done. And then there's also Khan Academy videos that you can see this this concept taught again. And he actually provides several different methods to divide polynomials, so you get the option of choosing what you think is best for you. Are there any questions or concerns? All right, good. So if you have any questions as you're working through the assignments this week, you can almost email me and let me know. Or if you had a second invite for another day, you can log in during that time. And I'll be going through examples like this as well, so you can get some more assistance with it. But if you don't have any other questions, you're free to go. And I hope you have a good day, good rest of your day.